now down to only drivers as we move into the second round of the playoffs. But is there really 12 drivers that have a chance to win the NASCAR championship? Or is it more likely only two drivers have a chance to win the championship in both Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin? We'll talk about it here next on Stuck in the Catch Fence. Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful Monday evening. Myself, doing all right. We had Sunday an off day for NASCAR as we had a Saturday night Bristol race. So we are now finished with the first round of the playoffs. 12 drivers advanced. If you want to know who advanced or what happened on Saturday night, be sure to check the video at the end. It is the post-race recap that I had for the Bristol race. But moving forward, we now are on to round two. And round two consists of Texas, Talladega, and the Charlotte Roval. So thinking about what I'm going to do maybe later in the week on who's going to make it, who's not going to make it, I just kept having the same conversation in my head. Does it matter? Honestly, does it matter? Because right now it seems like two cars are really the favorite moving forward in this NASCAR playoffs. You always look for momentum in sports. You always look for who's doing the best, who's doing it at the right time. You know, some drivers like William Byron were doing really, really good at the beginning of the year. It looks like they were unstoppable, had some things go their way. It just seemed like that was the case. Kind of like last year with Chase Elliott. Then there's other drivers who just know when to turn it on or know how to turn it on. You know, multiple drivers have done that in the playoffs, making their playoff push. I mean, Ross Chastain was one of those drivers last year, making it to the Final Four and in second place in the championship himself. Well, right now, to me, there are head and shoulders two guys doing the best and are at the top of their game. Last year seemed like a wild card with a brand new car, trying to figure things out. Some drivers taking advantage of it. Some older drivers trying to get out of their way, their old ways of the last gen car, and what they've learned throughout their entire career to make adjustments. Well, now we've seen what has happened, and it seems like the talent, the cream has rise to the top, and the guys we expected to be there last year have themselves found a way after some homework, after some drive time, which you don't get a lot of nowadays, back into title contention. One of them seeking their first ever title in Denny Hamlin, who's won everything besides winning a championship, and the other one seeking to get his second title, one in Kyle Larson, who everybody thinks possibly is the greatest driver in the entire world, considering of all the things that he drives in. Those are the two drivers right now that I look at and go, is it time for Denny to win, or is it time for Kyle to get championship number 2 and cement himself as one of the greatest drivers in NASCAR history? Both of them will be there at the end of their careers. One of them is missing a huge piece of hardware. The second one's missing another piece of hardware. So let's first dive into the case 4-1 Denny Hamlin, 4-1 Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson, over the last 3 races, the first round, finished winning the first one at Darlington. Then he got 4th place at Kansas. And then this past week, a track that he's not great at Bristol, he ended up getting a 2nd place finish. So beginning of the playoffs, I said that Kyle Larson, to me, is my sleeping favorite to win. Why is that? It just seemed like Kyle Larson, as the Dirt Series has gone progressively slower and slower, and it focuses more on the NASCAR playoffs, has himself and his team and Cliff Daniels put everything together and moved forward with, okay, now it's time to strap in. Kyle Larson got a win early on this season. He's done well throughout this season, but he's also had a lot of DNFs. A lot of those DNFs, though, were not his fault. Being wrecked by the likes of Denny Hamlin, being wrecked by the likes of Ross Chastain. Even to the point that Rick Hendrick himself had to say something about Ross Chastain. He's had a lot of bad luck, but what he also has had is a lot of speed. He's been really, really good this year. The only difference is he didn't win like 9 or 10 races the way that he did his championship season. Well, he came down some. He isn't the most dominant driver in the sport, but by God, he's still one of the best. And what we've seen, and to me, Bristol kind of encapsulates the entire thing. You know, we expect Kyle Larson to have a really good chance to win at Texas. With a Hendrick Motorsport car, we expect him to do okay at Talladega and probably will do fine at the Roval. But when it comes to short tracks, he's admitted it's not his biggest cup of tea. We've seen a win at Martinsville, and we've seen a second place finish at Bristol. That is a next level step for Kyle Larson that has not been talked about enough. Darlington's a track that we all expect him to win at because, you know, he rides the wall well, does good with the high groove. The reason why these short tracks have been in trouble for him is because you typically got to run the low line. Bristol's a little bit different because of the way the track's configured now, but still did good enough to get second place. And don't hear what I'm not saying. I think the Dirt Series and all the other things that Kyle Larson does helps him in the long run. I also think you can only give so much of your time and resources to everything that you do, whether it's dirt racing, whether it's, you know, in the sprint cars, whether it's, you know, the late models. I mean, he said that he could do 100 races a year and tries to, but you can only give so much energy, so much attention to detail, so much perfection to a certain craft when you're racing 4 out of the 7 days in a week. And now with it coming to a close, it's pure focus on the championship. And I think that the things that he does to keep his time compete at a high level at these other circuits helps him get to the point where now everything he's learned throughout the entire year can now be focused here in these last 10 races, now last 7 races of the playoff system. Kyle Larson is still my favorite to win the championship. I think that he has everything that it takes. This isn't his best round moving forward, but I think he's done enough to where as long as he doesn't have a catastrophic failure, or more importantly, just goes out and wins Texas this coming Sunday, he definitely has a chance to win the championship. He's that good. He just, in fact, might be the best driver in the entire sport. Now, the other driver, which we'll save the most controversial one for last, is Denny Hamlin. And you're going, oh my God, the last thing I want to do is hear another conversation about Denny Hamlin. Well, as Denny said, he just beat all your favorite drivers this past week. And there's a new moxie with Denny Hamlin that I've been saying all along that Ross Chastain should take advantage of and be the villain. And Denny Hamlin has done that. Denny Hamlin's not always been well liked because he's always been the crier. Now he's become the villain. And I promise you this, when you're the villain and you see the things that people say about you on social media and you can laugh it off, because that's not been Denny Hamlin's persona before. Denny Hamlin's been the type of guy that fires back at people on social media, kind of to defend his pride, defend who he is, things of that nature. That's one thing. Not saying that that's wrong. Kyle Busch has done the same thing, and so have many other drivers on social media. You know, they see something because fans are passionate, for better or for worse, and said something back. But right now, Denny Hamlin has gone full-blown heel on the NASCAR series and the NASCAR fans. He is living through the boos. And you don't boo losers, you boo winners. And right now, Denny Hamlin is a winner. He has gone out through this season, especially in the later half of the regular season, moving into the first round of the playoffs, and has solidified himself as one of the 2 best drivers, in my opinion, to win the NASCAR championship. So what's different this year? To me, it's all upstairs. Denny Hamlin knows he can win on any single given Sunday. Chris Gabehart has done a good job helping him on top of the pit box. The last 3 finishes for Denny Hamlin in the first round, the round of 16, 25th, 2nd, and 1st. And don't forget, at 25th, the only reason why he got 25th is because he thought he felt a wheel being loose when he was in first place. Otherwise, it's probably anywhere between 1 and 3, second and first. Denny Hamlin's good. Denny Hamlin's also an asshole. And I don't care if you decide not to root for him. That's fine. But here on this channel, we speak the truth. I've come around on Bubba Wallace. Okay? I said Bubba Wallace would make it to the next round of the playoffs. Not tooting my own horn. But Bubba Wallace is not a guy that I like. But I recognize is really good right now and is one of the 12 better drivers in this sport. He's in. The champion last year is out. I said those two things would happen, and they did. They required some luck and some bad luck, but they happened. So your views on things shouldn't be determined by if you like the driver, but what you see on track. Bubba Wallace has been good on track here this year. He's advanced the level in my mind in terms of his racing craft. Denny Hamlin right now is sitting close to the top if he's not already there. Boo him as loud as you want. Hate him as much as you need to. But here on Stuck in the Catchfence, we tell the truth. And right now, Denny Hamlin might be the odds-on favorite to win this year's championship. And if he wins this year's championship, you might as well just book the date that he gets entered into the NASCAR Hall of Fame if he hasn't already had a step and a half already there. The only thing missing is a championship for Denny Hamlin. And for that reason only, has a higher concentration rate, a higher something to reach for than even Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson's done everything in every sport, and there's nobody ever going to say that Kyle Larson isn't a great driver. There's a lot of other drivers in this playoff system that have accomplished a lot of things. But Denny Hamlin, at his age, might be the hungriest and has accepted a new focus, a new role, and might be the thing that helps him win a championship. I've been claiming for it all the time with his rival, Ross Chastain, to say, I don't give a shit what people say about me or care, accept it, and move forward. Little did I know that the victim, more often than not, of the Ross Chastain and Denny Hamlin feud would be Denny Hamlin taking that type of ego, that type of approach, and saying, I'm now the villain. I'm now the Joker. Call me what you want as long as you call me a winner, because that's all he's been. It's a 2-horse race. And sure, I could be surprised and it end up being somebody else. And maybe one of these guys can knock out the end of the playoffs. I'm not the same guy. I never would have predicted that Martin Truex would be on the wrong side looking in the last race of the round of 16. And we'll be here for that conversation as well. But if you're going to tell me to put money down right now, if you're going to tell me to have a video right now to talk to you, to see what you guys think, and to explain myself, I can't move forward with the round of 12 thinking that right now there's not just two. Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin. And wouldn't it be great when they go to Phoenix, two guys that used to be best friends, don't like each other here, at least in this year with the stuff that's gone on the track, battling it out at Phoenix? That would be the perfect script for NASCAR from what we've seen this year. The guy that's won everything and already has a championship under his belt, and the guy that's never been able to do it and has nothing to lose later on in his career. Let me know what you think. I would love to tell you it's Kyle Busch. I'd love to tell you it's Ryan Blaney. I'd love to tell you it was Martin Truex. I'd love to tell you that it's William Byron, but I can't do it. I can't do it. Maybe you can make the case for them. Do it so in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. We'll have a weekly show on Wednesday where we do break down the guys that I think won't make it to the round of 8 and the other 8 drivers that I have moving forward. We'll also talk about Texas, which I said could be a better race than Bristol. And, well, in my opinion, that won't be too hard now from what we just witnessed at Bristol. If you would like to support the channel, there's different ways to doing so. Up on the screen now are different ways you can stay in touch in the community. We have a Facebook page if you would like to be there and join a conversation there. The Patreon is just a way to help support me and the things that I do. If you feel the need to do so, don't ever have to do that. We'll never ask you for doing that. And then also we are on Rumble if you decide not to stay on YouTube and want to do a different measure outside of that. So again, Thank you guys for joining. My name is Ryan Peters, and we'll catch you next time on Stuck in the Catch Fence.